Morena tātou. Ko ai au. Ngāti whakaue, te iwi, Ngāti kāringa, te hapu, nongataha te maunga, te utahina te awa, te rotoroa nui a kahu, te roto, te kautu, te marae, te kautu tōku kāinga, ko Haehaetu Barrett tōku ingoa, ko Haehaetu Barrett Jr. actually, tōku ingoa. Ko ai te kaiwhakahaere o ngā rōpū Lifewise Trust, Tamaki Makaurau ki te arawa hoki. Yes, I'm the fill-in on the program. I'm Apopo, and I haven't got a speech prepared because I was planning on doing that later on, or probably tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning. So so I'm just gonna say it how it is, probably. Just gonna say it how it is. I'd like to acknowledge our host committee. It's been a long journey to put together a hui of this magnitude. And myself and my cousin Lauren James, Tūturu Whakaue, born in the Pride Lands, we call it, around the corner in Te Kautu, have tortured Wayne, for the last 18 months. Thank you, Wayne, te matapihi representation, and Ngāwa, who represented our government agencies, and our matriarch of our iwi, Auntie Norma Sturley, has been there with us by our side, representing Ngāti Whakaue, and also Gina Rangi from Central Government, Rotorua District Council. It's been a hard mahi, but to see you all yesterday come on to our marae, te papai oru, ohune motu in our village, honour and a privilege to know that we're here together to talk about this kaupapa of challenge, this kaupapa of resilience, and more importantly, this kaupapa of ourselves, who we are as iwi Māori, working in the space of what some would call homelessness, housing crisis, vulnerable communities, high complexities, social demand, social outcast. But at the end of the day, we're talking about ourselves, because they're all ours. They're ours, and they belong somewhere, and that's called a home, not a house. It's called a home. So the kaupapa and those many kind of interviews are some of the journey that we've all been on, in constant advocacy and constant fighting for our people, for their voices to be heard and recognised, and hosting here in Tarawa when we've been painted as a place of emergency housing, once known for our tourism, then all of a sudden known for the second highest in Aotearoa for homelessness. That is not who we are. We are a community, we are iwi that stand staunch around supporting manaaki, our whānau, and we are working in that space with a lens of hope and aspirational thinking to keep our people safe and to reintegrate them back into the communities to a home. So my kōrero was going to be around the workforce actually, and who we are as the workforce that choose to work in the highest demand. When I was going to Western Heights High School, I wanted to be a flight attendant because I thought you got to fly everywhere, went all over the world. That didn't work. And then I wanted to be in the army, and then a police officer. Then I found out I was legally blind, as you would have seen me coming up the stairs. So that didn't work. I was like, I don't want to be. And I ended up being probably the most changed, significant point of my life. The A&E, they call it, the emergency department. I used to be the A&E midnight receptionist. And at that time, because our whānau, I didn't know it then, they couldn't afford to go to the doctors during the week. So what I thought would be a cruisy job at wake shift was a very busy job because they were coming in for the free medical care because they couldn't afford it. That was back in the 90s. And one particular evening, there was a cot death. And I still think today, I wasn't even sector then, but just my face, just having the connection into whakaue, was a whakaue whānau, just being there and trying to find them a private room, this little Ngawaro receptionist. The doctors were yelling at me to get the details. I didn't care about the details. I cared about the wailing mum and dad and the baby that she was still thinking was asleep in her arms. And I found them a little room. And that time we didn't have the Māori health teams, hunga manaaki. We didn't have them up at Lakes DHB then. We were called Lakeland Health. And I think I became a little Māori health team. Myself and one of my aunties, there was the domestics from the kitchen, helped us whānau. And from there, I left that job and I wanted to become a social worker. I didn't even know what social worker was. Actually, I thought social was going to be socially, Heaps of social. Haehaetu Kohunui, one of my aunties, was my teacher, poor auntie. And then I did social work activity-based because I thought you have heaps of fun. But you had to climb cliffs to show team support, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I did it. And I was a very, very young mum, solo parent, blessed with a good family though, good support from my parents. And from there, I just became hungry, not for the tohu, but to make the difference, to be that significant point of hope. When whānau at their most vulnerable are looking for one face, that was an unskilled face, that was not a practitioner, that became a practitioner, because I worked out pretty fast in sector, your voice is only heard when you have something called clinical beside you. So I worked that out. So as you pipeline and you start coming up, and I did quickly go through the ranks because my passion was hard to serve the people and the most vulnerable, because I could see, I didn't know what it was called then, discrimination. I could see it. Each sector that I walked, it's still alive and well right now. When I made my way through the ranks, started leading in kaupapa Māori mental health services, I saw it again. We weren't getting contracts like the others. We had 2 little vans for 18 whaiora. And I remember battling once I got to the DHB levels, and another point of significance happened to me. If she's sitting in here right now, she'll remember this day very clearly. It was called D floor at Lakes DHB. If you made it to D floor, you made it. And I was mouthing off at the CEs about the contracts, and Philly took me into the staircase. That's how bad I was. And she says, honey, you're a leader, we can all see that. You can. But the sector's not kind. The sector's not kind, especially for you and I. So we work together, we work diligently for our people. I've never forgotten that staircase discussion. I think I was kicking up. Yeah, it was about resources. I was kicking up though, anyway. So I went back in. I fought the battle, but I just learned how to start articulating a bit better. So as I missioned around and made it into certain roles and met certain networks, the kaupapa of homelessness is not new. It's around generational trauma. It's around mental health and addictions. It's around people struggling to be included into their own whānau again because of the addictions. It's around the whakamā. So when you look at purpose, when you look at building sector workforce, It is around finding that receptionist, finding that person who can intrinsically gain trust from our whānau, because at the point when they're in their most worst, that's all they need is a trusting person to talk to. Then you can pipeline the rest through the networks. When COVID happened here in Rotorua, Lifewise, we have a mental health and addiction service here. We have a Housing First program as well, with Te Taumata o Ngāti Whakaue. And when it hit us, a lot of our homeless, we were under 100 then. I know this because I did a head count. Oh, I didn't because I can't see. But I sent the work, get out there and count everyone. Don't go during the day, you go in the night. I can't because I'm blind, but yous all go. I'll wait here. I'll wait here. You just bring me the numbers. And they did. They all went out. We were under 100 then. 2,500, 3 years later. 2,500. Rotorua. So we've got motels. Put them in the motels during the COVID. We cautioned. Anything past 3 months, it's over. Got to start staging out, got to start putting the supports. We've got the opportunity for the triage. We can do that all. That was 3 years ago. I heard the kōrero last night. A lot of the kōrero we're talking is the kōrero from 5 years ago. After this hui, that has to stop. No more the kōrero. It's time for the action. Because we can't in 3 years have those numbers. We can't. The majority of those numbers are mental health and addictions. The majority of the mental health and addictions, the pain is attributed by generational trauma. We know this whānau. We know this. So workforce, capacity and capability has to be nurtured. Gone are the days when you need the level 4s to get in. Gone are those days. Homelessness is real, but that's just the label of it. This is around our people and everything they experience. I know this from my rehabs. I know it. I see it in the sector. My workforce are all mainly lived experience. Also, my workforce are all related to me. And I say that without whakamā. But they called me a name before. What is it? Nepotism. Don't need no HR when you can just bash them. Nah. Hey, you know, easier, faster. You know, that's true. Most of them are all related to me. You know, even when I had my kids, they were all raised in the rehab. Sorry, kids, one's here. One did the wero yesterday. See, I raised them well. See, they were raised in the rehab. You just had to do what you had to do. And sometimes I often think of that, did I sacrifice my kids to build these services for whānau? One's a lawyer, one's an up-and-coming practitioner. The other one, he was too hard out into the dope. Yeah, I still love my son, that's my big son, and he's the one that gave me my mokos. So he's all right. He's all right. Yeah. We're all getting to know each other, eh? But yeah, that's me. But anyway, when it's about the workforce, when COVID hit, here in Rotorua especially, our tourism got hit badly. So there were a lot of brilliant kapahaka performers all around Rotorua. And I hired most of them. And I got a lot of shit for that. They got no experience, they got da-da-da-da. Wrong. They're from this land. They're from this land. And when they perform, they speak of whakapapa. When they perform, when they sing about us. I got the right people. They know who they are. They have their identity intact. The rest can be trained. The clinical stuff can be trained. So when you're working in homelessness, it's not around homelessness. It's around our whānau wanting to be included again. There's stats everywhere. I was hoping to speak after they did all the stats, because I'm not one for stats. Because I'm one for outcomes. I'm one to understand the challenges. And when the challenges present, I'm one for us to come together to battle those challenges. One of the challenges was bringing this hui together. The magnitude of the registrations skyrocketed because people want to know, what can we do to help our whānau in this space? How can we come together and chisel as different iwi? How can we come together not as just leaders or managers, lived experience, tell their stories? How can we actively learn and participate in challenging the government that what is happening is not tika? It's not who we are. How can we put to the table, give us the goodies? We know what we're up to. How do we know? Because one little receptionist is now the chief executive of a very large white mainstream organisation and battles every day against my counterparts around what's right for our workforce. I knew it was going to be lonely going into that role, leaving Te Arawa, moving to Tāmaki Makaurau, but it wasn't about me. It was around your voice. And this voice I will take back to that corporate board table, to that corporate level, to the government agencies. I shut down the 4 canoes here last year. Not fit for purpose for my people. Not fit for purpose for my people. You come and clean this up, or you sleep in it. You want to talk emergency housing? They don't have to. I wouldn't even put my roddies in what I found. So if you're going to provide, if you're going to lead, stand with courage, because your workforce, they watch, they observe, because the legacy we live is a succession we gave. I was raised in the sector by some king hitters. Makoro Pihopa, Makoro Hapi Winiata, Te Tanakai Kinata, those were the blazers. They were in the sector full force. So when you come into whakaue and you hear our stories, Te Hina Manakitanga Trust, the first addiction kaupapa Māori, named after our river. So when people say to us, what's your proposal? You're looking at it. What's your proposal? What's your proposal? I do say that. I really do. But yeah, it's things like that. I'm really glad I don't have to speak tomorrow. I had a speaking outfit too, but this will do. I'm all right. I'm all right. Anyway, I'm getting quite comfortable here. So I don't know. La will tell me if I've gone too long. Okay. So yeah, I was going to talk about workforce, the capacity, capability, all the C's, everything. But at the end of the day, every single one, leadership and management, everything like that, I say to my shift workers and my rehabs and my residential services, you're the leader when you come on shift. You're the leader. This is your shift. You've been entrusted to work with our whānau for this shift. Everyone's the leader. Everyone, because it's the integrity of the heart in this mahi. It's the integrity of the heart and understanding the purpose and the passion of why we do what we do in this thing called homelessness, housing crisis, all of that. Something connects us intrinsically. Usually, this is the most stressful job ever. I say that to the teams. It's high demand. It's not the 9 to 5. People will say to you, you shouldn't take your work home. It's impossible. My granddaughter at 4 years old, she knew Joe Bloggs' name because I used to go home swearing about my, clients, not listening, know-it-alls, all that kind of stuff. And my little muko walking around, I was like, you don't even work in the sector. And you're stressed. and you're stressed, you know? It's stuff like that. So being careful and mindful of that, eh? Haehaetu. Yeah, but, you know, that kind of stuff. It's impossible. And you know, people say, you got to drop your hat. That's a pun, cool one, eh? You got to drop your hat high. It's impossible. You know, you see a need in your whānau, your hapu, your iwi. It's not the need in the whānau, the hapu, the iwi, because they're you. They're you. So we're obligated. You want to have a big flash roll, you want to live in Tāmaki Makaurau. My brother is one to remind me, you remember who you are. You remember who you are. Blessed with a name called Haehaetu, tupuna. Hated it at school. I changed my name to Lisa at school. I did. It was easier, you know, Lisa was cool. And then when I got to, when I got to study in the mahi and did my first, you know, papers and everything like that, understanding the importance of tupuna, ingoa and everything like that, my mother's name was Haehaetu. I remember apologising to her one day. She gave me a hiding, actually. She's only this tall. And because she always used to say to me, you are Haehaetu. We are not inferior. We are not inferior. Your name wasn't given lightly. So it's things like that as you come through that you learn to appreciate. Because when you start imparting, you need to impart with knowing who you are first. Because if you're imparting and you don't even know who you are or what your own purpose is, then you're kino. And the workforce that follows will suffer. So, yeah, in terms of this kōrero, this kaupapa, that the quick change when Lauren and Deb says, you're up now. I was like, I'm up tomorrow. You're up now. I said, okay, I'm up now. I'm up now. But secretly inside, I can get up again tomorrow, next week, the week after, with the constant message that this is who we are. We're fighting for our people without fear. We are the signed agreement. You're looking at us. There's no need to go external and looking at all different type of frameworks. These are the frameworks. We will create them. We will action them forward. And one thing we will commit to do is continue the mahi until all our people feel like they're in a home, until all our people are connected again to their whenua, until all our people cease to be called high complexities. High complexities, the old HCs. That's not them. That is what they inherited by a broken system. And this is the day, and tomorrow, and tonight, and Saturday and Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, that we can make change, active change, as a cohesive approach of iwi Māori at a Iwi Māori Housing Conference hosted here in Te Arawa, and we're going to be moving forward. Kia ora tātou.